me, ladies and gentlemen, I am what in the theatre is called a device. So the device that I am is to provide you with a mild and quite short, I have been told, instructed, quite a short diversion, while much more interesting things happen behind me on the stage. So I've been thinking about what to say, and I'd like to reflect on a couple of things about this profession. So, in the 17th century in Europe, the most powerful political leader represented the power of his politics through dance. Perhaps it's a bit of a blessing that political leaders don't do that too much today. Thank you. But Louis XIV styled himself as the Sun King and presented himself as the centerpiece of enormous theatrical pageants in that guise, as the Sun King, and it was deliberately a statement of his political power. Those pageants held at Versailles in the 17th century are the direct antecedents of the profession that we understand today. By the early 19th century, by 1820, the practice of classical ballet, so what you are going to see tonight, had clarified and solidified so specifically that by 1820, a Frenchman by the name of Carlo Blasi could start writing what today are recognized as the original treatises on how to train dancers. Blasi eventually, with his wife, became the director of the La Scala Ballet, and he trained people whose names might be a little bit more familiar to us today, like Enrico Cicchetti. Now, I'm not asking you, and I'm not suggesting to you that dancers are royalty. I think they're royalty. But I am asking you to think about the sweep of history, the many hundreds of years during which this profession has been clarified, solidified, and most importantly, passed down by word of mouth from hand to hand. The best teaching of ballet is effectively an oral tradition that is handed down from one generation to the next, and I'm going to come back to that in a moment. But that grand sweep of history means that most, if not the majority, of countries in the world today will have their own historical trajectory for this profession. So there are a number of countries that are represented on the stage tonight. You will see when the tab goes up that the site is festooned with a number of national flags. That means that the history of the profession in each of those countries then takes its own trajectory, including in South Africa. And the South African trajectory is particularly interesting because, as you would expect, it's tinged and informed by our political history. In fact, it's so interesting that it should be the subject of many books, but it's not. You academics out there, what's happening? The story of South African ballet is a particularly interesting, dynamic, and intricate one. And the South African International Ballet Competition has been now for more than a decade and a half actually, part of that history. During that time, it's seen a number of dynamics. For example, during COVID, there was no performance. There was no live performance. We went entirely online. Coming out of COVID, there was a year or two of presenting the competition in a hybrid form, and this competition today is the first time we are back entirely live performance. There are 88 competitors who've gone through the competition over the last 4 days. The platform has offered, the competition has offered a platform, not the only platform, but a platform for a number of dancers, including South African dancers, to present their wares, if you like, to a wider public and to a wider profession. And a number of dancers have gone on to receive scholarships and training in international institutions, other institutions, and also to professional life in other countries. So for that reason, the competition is an important part of the fabric of the history of South African ballet. But I want to come back. I'm going to end very shortly, so because I'm far less interesting. That's what's going on behind the curtain. I want to come back to that point about the best teaching of dance is an oral tradition handed down from one generation to the next. Young dancers do not know this, but they better hope that the people in the room that are teaching them have something to teach and can teach it. And those things are not the same thing. Sometimes they are mutually exclusive. There are many generations of people represented on the stage. Nobody dancing on the stage is going to be over the age of 30 today. But they all stand on the shoulders of giants. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, the people that came before us. And so one of the most interesting innovations that this competition introduced last year was the Recognition Awards, is to say to the previous generation, we recognize you and we value you. But there's one important factor about the Recognition Awards, because it's not only about the dancers and the dance teachers and the people who put the production together. There is a whole ecosystem of people whose lives combine to present to you what you will see tonight. And so we're going to go into the Recognition Awards tonight. They are going to be recognizing some of our teachers, some of DIRK and my own teachers, but we're going to go beyond the idea of the teacher or the producer of the ballet, and we're going to talk about that broader theatrical ecosystem that supports the production. DIRK,
thank you very much, Andrew. Dancers, please come to the front, and may you please take the tabs out.